Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, in this video we are going to explain about bankruptcy. My name is Nurfarah Syazwani binti Mama Arshad, and joining with me today Nurul, Hidayah binti Halim. We are from BA2423C.
This is our content for today that we will discuss.
Let's move on to the first content. What is capital structure? Capital structure is defined by the debt burden that a company uses to support its activities and finance its assets. In analyzing a company's financial health, the debt to equity or debt to capital ratio is often used. Capital structure refers to the sum of all long-term sources of money. It consists of equity share capital, reserve, and surplus. Preference, share capitals, loans, debentures, and other long-term funding sources, among other things.
In the next slide, we will learn how to determine optimal capital structure. There are three important factors when creating an optimal capital structure, which are wealth, net worth, and market value. With a suitable capital structure, a company's wealth, net worth, and market value will be maximized. It is necessary to compute the wealth of a company by calculating the present value of its future cash flow. When designing the optimal capital structure, keep in mind that it should be simple to understand and structure. A complicated financing structure will only serve to confuse the situation even more.
What is bankruptcy? A business declares bankruptcy when it is unable to meet its financial commitments or pay its creditors. If not fully paid, the company's obligations are recalculated and paid, if possible, from the company's remaining assets. However, a fresh start is given to both individuals and corporations through bankruptcy, which eliminates any obligations that cannot be paid and allows creditors to receive a portion of their money back based on the assets that can be liquidated. Many wool famous brands loved but many had to end their history because they were declared bankrupt. Since the coronavirus outbreak triggered a wave of shop shutdowns, the J. Crew Group, which managed the J. Crew and Madya brands, has filed for bankruptcy protection. The firm announced that it had achieved an agreement with its lenders to exchange about $1.65 billion in debt to equity. With mounting debt and declining sales, the company had already plagued by accusations that it had lost touch with its once faithful clients. However, when J. Crew was considering an initial public offering (IPO) that would have allowed it to pay off its debt, the creditors rejected it. Let's move on to the next slide. How do bankruptcy costs affect a company's capital structure? The consequences of bankruptcy might limit the amount of debt a company can take on. There is a direct correlation between a company's debt to equity ratio and its bondholders' capacity to pay back. As a result, stockholders' ownership of the company's assets shifted to bondholders. Companies fall bankrupt when their assets are worth less than their debts. Stockholders lose control of the company when the value of the equity declines to zero. Bondholders own assets with a value equivalent to the debt they owe the issuer. There are two types of bankruptcy costs. First, direct bankruptcy costs. A company's equity is worthless if the value of its asset matches the amount of its debt, which is known as direct bankruptcy costs. Debt financing is discouraged by these bankruptcy costs. When a company becomes bankrupt, a portion of the company is wiped out. There is a tax on declaring bankruptcy. Next, indirect bankruptcy costs. Indirect bankruptcy costs refer to the costs incurred by a financially distressed company to avoid bankruptcy. A company's resources are dedicated to preventing bankruptcy because it is costly. Financial distress occurs when a company has severe difficulties paying its debt. What is financial distress? Financial distress is a word used in corporate finance to describe a situation in which a company's agreement with its creditors are breached or are only partially met. A company or individual in financial distress is unable to fulfill or pay its financial commitments because of a lack of revenue or profit. There are three warning indicators that everyone have to know. The first one is profitability is low. Second, customer do not pay on time. And lastly, declining in sales. An organization, no matter how properly run, can easily fall into financial difficulty. Financial difficulties can arise for various reasons which are also beyond the authority of a firm. For example, a sudden decline in the overall economy might significantly impact a company's revenue. It is not uncommon for a firm to go bankrupt due to a lack of managerial expertise. The company's top executive may be taking on too much debt in order to support expansion. If the company's loans obligations are not met soon enough, it might find itself in a struggling economy. Weak budgeting, inability to collect accounts receivable on time, which can result in substantial cash flow concerns, and inefficient accounting system are all potential causes of financial distress. Among the most popular cures that businesses use to alleviate financial distress are cost cutting, cash flow improvement, and debt restructuring, which is intended to reduce the size of loan repayments.
There are 5 reasons why companies go bankrupt. Firstly, difficult market condition. Secondly, poor cash flow. Thirdly, poor decision making. Fourthly, trouble finding financing. And lastly, other causes of bankruptcy such as fire, flood, and fraud. Next slide is integration of tax effect and financial cost distress. In this graph, we can see that when we increase the present value of the financial distress cost, the present value of the debt tax shield increase as well. Because of this, we can see how they are linked together. According to the study result, a firm present value goes up when it starts to move away from equity and toward it. This is because the probability of distress is low in this case. So even a small increase in that value makes the present value of this charge go up. Certain taxpayers will experience a rise in current value of their tax shelter. Because of the tax shelter, the chances of the company going bankrupt will go up quickly, which will cause the value of company to go down. Next slide is a ways to avoid bankruptcy. There are 4 ways to avoid bankruptcy, which are: make debt repayment a priority. Next, sell non-essential business asset, create a new business plan, and eliminate all non-essential expenses. So that's all from us. Thank you for watching.